Someone said, hey yo, Meat Canyon follows this guy? So a lot of people have been asking me to sculpt something from Meat Canyon, so a few months ago I reached out to him and asked him if I could sculpt the pumpkin spice monster from his pumpkin spice video, particularly this scene.
Welcome to Starbucks. What can we get started for you today?
And he said yes. So let's get sculpting. This was sculpted in ZBrush based on this reference frame. I had to take some creative liberties because the actual one was in a car holding the steering wheel and I didn't want the sculpture to be in a car. Fun fact, the teeth that are used in this sculpt are actually my teeth, because a while back I 3D scanned my teeth and used that to make my own night guard, so I just reused that 3D model instead of sculpting it from scratch. And on the base I also made my logo in a Meat Canyon like font for the collab project. Usually for sculpts like this, I'll print them out on a resin printer and hand paint them, but my friend Alex over at Canadian Filaments actually sent me over this pumpkin spice filled PLA, and I thought this would be a perfect time to use it. I've got a Bamboo Lab X1 carbon with 4 AMS units, meaning I can print with 16 different colors at once, which is more than enough for this print. Bamboo Studio actually lets you manually paint in colors, so you could download a single color STL online and paint different parts of it, but since this was such a complex sculpt, I actually split up the colors in ZBrush, which took a considerable amount of time, but I think the results were worth it. I used Bamboo's PLA support for this print, which let me get a lot more detail on those minima and overhangs. This isn't a dissolvable PVA support, which is pretty common. It's actually their own proprietary PLA and TPU blend, which those two plastics do not adhere to each other, so that means instead of leaving a gap between the supports and the supported area, you can really get right up to that layer and it still separates when it's time to remove supports. And oh my god, the entire apartment smelled like pumpkin spice for days after this was finished printing. This was actually pretty tedious, but we got there in the end and it looks great. More importantly, Mr. Meat himself likes it. Let me know what you guys think and leave a comment of which Meat Canyon character I should sculpt next. Thank you guys for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. The colors in ZBrush, which took a considerable considerable. Speaking of,